Is this thing on?
Are you ready, Matt?
You're listening to Box Office Bingers with Matt Diaz and Ernesto Santos.
Good evening, folks. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you.
We know each other. He's a friend from work.
Box Office Bingers.
And the only way that I know how to do it is to find you a bloody good dump.
He's my friend. I don't have friends. I got family. I can do this all day.
You know, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
So with that, we're going to dive right into our spoiler review of probably one of the most anticipated films of 2020. We're going to dive into 1984. So Estevan, we'll start with you. What were your reactions with this movie?
Oh, God. It's beautiful, guys. I fucking love it. Gal Gadot is literally Wonder Woman. And everything, she's just everything about Wonder Woman and about Diana Prince, Gal Gadot just brings to the screen. And Patty Jenkins somehow was able to, personally, I think, match what she did with the first one, with still giving a new story, but still keeping true to what the character was, but in a new setting. And what I think was one of the best things that she was able to do with it was that she was able to showcase the 80s, 1984 specifically, obviously, in the title sequence. But when we usually see the 80s, it's big hair, it's spandex, it's all the craziness of the 80s, like packed into a movie or into a TV show. And the setting of the 80s didn't really overshadow anything. It just really helped it, and much so. Yes, there was still the spandex for, the when people go work out. There's the big hair. There's the fanny packs. They make fun of it, but the setting of the 80s didn't really overpower anything. I think it was a great spot for it. Again, Patty Jenkins delivered a beautiful script. I think she delivered a beautiful look to the film as well too. It was vibrant. Diana is dealing. I would like to say this as well too. I like the fact, and I like thinking of the fact that Diana has been swerving men for since 1930. After Steve, because even in the movie, there's they're like, "Hey, beautiful." She's like, "No." I was like, "You've been doing that for generations."
That's so true.
For years.
Yeah.
It's like people were like, she's like, "Steve Trevor, no, you step off, please." Thank you. Pedro Pascal. If I have not said it before, I'm gonna say it again. Put him in everything. He is amazing,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of are. I mean, Christmas Day was a big day for Pedro because he had a movie on Netflix come out. He had he had Wonder Woman on Hulu. I mean, on HBO Max, and then he also has The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, and then he had that Shark Boy and Lava Girl thing that he was doing. So
yeah, that's the same one on. We can be heroes. We are your heroes.
We can be heroes. That's right.
We can be heroes. Yeah, with Robert Rodriguez. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, oh my god, that's awesome. So yeah, Pedro is amazing. I think this was a beautiful character for him to portray and to run as the villain, because it's weird because it's like he's the villain, but in that same aspect, a lot of the times we always see these superhero movies and we're like, well, is the villain really the villain?
Right.
And same with Kristen Wiig's character, playing Barbara Minerva, and who later on turns into the cheetah. And it was one of those things where I'm just like, did I want more from it? Yes, I did want more things. Like, I wanted more cheetah. I wanted to see the transformation itself happen, which I think would have been really nice. But I think the amount of time of that story was on screen was perfect because it didn't overtake anything from Max Lord, and also didn't take away from what was going on between Diana and her whole situation with Steve and with everybody else as well. So I think Patty really paced it really well, which is hard because, I mean, my main concern for the upcoming Spider-Man 3 film is like, oh, did you not hear the entire cast of Fast and the Furious 27 is coming and joining, Spider-Man 3. Every day there's a new character. So it's hard to balance that many characters and still give everybody screen time, but then also be respectful of all the characters in there as well. So I think she paces it really well. And and yet again, the theme of the first Wonder Woman movie, I think, was love and compassion. And then this one, I think, was truth. So, which I think there's a whole theme with her 3 that she's probably going to do, love, truth, and whatever, maybe beauty for the next one. But I think, you know what? I loved it. Where does it fall within all of the DC movies? And within that, I mean, it's higher up there. Next to the original Wonder Woman movie, I would probably give it, I'd probably say like an 8.5 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
Now, what is your relation? Like, do you like it better than the first? Which one do you think is better, the first one or 1984?
Well, okay, so I think what I'm gonna have to do again is I'm gonna watch it again, obviously, because I want to kind of like compare and contrast on that. And I love the first one because the first one is kind of very much like Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight franchise, where it was a movie and that happened to have a superhero in it. There was much more of a story there than it was 2 hours of costume characters running around trying to fight people. So, and I think that's what the first one did. I think Patty did such a great job of showing you who Diana is, where Themyscira is, and showing you all the Amazons, and giving you that heart and giving you that, that feeling of what she is, because we saw her briefly in the suit, like when she met Steve, like after she stole it, but you didn't even see the full getup. And then after that, we didn't see the full getup until, she was in No Man's Land, which was like 45 minutes into the movie. So, and then that's where it was just like, oh, okay, yeah, like this is like a film about something else that happens to have a superhero in there. And then same with this one. She did a good job with this. But I think this one's I'm gonna watch it again. So right now I'm gonna say the first one still is more favorable for me. But this one, I think if I watch again, I'm going to be like, no, this is the one. I think this one I like more.
All right, Ernesto?
So, I liked it. I don't think I liked it nearly as much as you did, Estevan, but I still definitely enjoyed this movie. Like, I liked how campy the opening was. You get to her running through the mall, and then, they have that whole sequence where we're in the mall with the little girl, and she like looks at her like an idol, and you see her running past back and forth, and using the lasso of truth. Like I like that. I was like, all right, that's what we're doing. It's just gonna be like a cheesy. Like as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, it's gonna be like a cheesy comic book movie, and that's pretty much exactly what it was. But I don't mean that in a derogatory term. I mean that in like, okay, I know I'm literally watching this movie, and I know exactly what I'm getting myself into. Like I know what's gonna happen. I don't know, because there is a lot of hate for this movie online. Like I made a
really?
I made a very conscious decision not to read any reviews, because I had heard brief like little rumorings here and there that people hated it and it wasn't that good. But you know what? After watching it, I have to say that I actually I enjoyed the movie. There are a few things, like maybe one or two things that I thought were kind of strange, like the whole Steve thing. Like I wish they would have found a better way to write that in. Like maybe could he not have come back from the dead, just like reanimated? Like we could see him. Like why does he have to be in the spirit? Why does the spirit have to be in somebody else's body? I don't know. Yeah. I think maybe it was to like maybe you see somebody else's soul, and like maybe she just knew, because she didn't even question it. He said what he said, like the last thing he said to her before he died, and then puts the watch in her hand, and she's like, oh yeah, it's you, but you're somebody else. But you look like this other dude. Like I don't know. Like I felt like that part was a little strange. But even then, even after it happened, I was like, it's a comic book movie, whatever. Like I was very forgiving. I was forgiving of like those those little small details. Like it was good. Like when Pedro Pascal at the end, when he first of all, like that thing at the end, like did you not feel like that was very kind of political Trumpish? Even my mom was like, oh look, they're kind of making him look like Trump. They put him in front of the presidential seal, and he's doing like the speech thing, talking to the people. Like I don't know, like it felt slightly political. But
Well, that was
I
the
was here
funny
for
thing
it.
because we talked about that last night, me and my sister, after we watched it, and I was like, it's much more relatable now, I guess, watching it now, because I mean, just like the whole, the aspect of kind of taking over the world and, getting all the power, as much power as he could get without really giving anything else to anybody else, and which was weird. And I was like, you know what, if this would have came out when it was supposed to come out, it wouldn't have been as relevant, I don't think, now. But now, after being in a pandemic, it got pushed back, and everything that we deal with politically and whatever side you may be on that end, I think it was like that. It was funny how I felt like this movie really kind of like mirrored things that were happening, now as well too. So, but and then went on top of that as well too, Ernest. I think one of the things where people were like, oh my god, I didn't like it. It was really cheesy and campy. I was like, I also think though that it was matching its tone of where it was at. Like, I mean, it was in 1984. I mean, that is a cheesy, campy time of,
I can agree with that.
In, like, in general, like, and I agree. Like, I love the idea of just, she used the lasso a lot more. I love that little nod to taking her tiara off and throwing it and using that to like break
it's like a batarang.
Cameras. As a batarang, but and like, because I've seen her do it like in the comics, and she uses that to like get against her foes and anybody else. So, which was fun. So I enjoyed seeing those.
How did you feel about her flying?
Okay. Oh, that's a good question. I didn't get the same. I didn't get the same feeling that I got when Henry Cavill's Superman first flew.
Yeah.
I felt like there was like such a build up to that where it was kind of like okay, cool, like you got
Well, Hans Zimmer's score definitely had a heavy hand into making that like a big moment for him.
Yeah.
But that was also one of the high points of the film. Like, obviously having Hans Zimmer do the score to the film made it literally made it that much better, because the score is a very prominent
that
part
Wonder
of
Woman
the film.
theme that she has
Yes.
is just, I mean, it gives goosebumps. Like,
It was good.
Yes.
I'm like, yes.
Yeah, and Hans Zimmer, obviously, he did the score for Wonder Woman 1984 and Man of Steel. So, yeah, I think the score here was fantastic. I'm like, yeah, whatever is happening on the screen, I don't care. This is great. Like, the music is matching it very well, very intense. But, sorry, Esteban, you were saying about the flying.
Oh, no, yeah, I think her flying, I think if you would have added something right before she actually did it, I mean, I know that they gave her that whole Steve thing where Steve's like, oh, it's pretty easy. You just got to kind of like match the wind and go with it. And I was like, okay. So you're not flying. So you're just like
gliding.
She's gliding.
But I think she was like legit. She was flying. Like there were at one point of the film, she like did the whole Superman thing. But I guess in the comics, not in the earlier comics, but I guess more Silver Age and after DC Rebirth, it was a known thing that she could fly. Which, I mean, whatever. She's a goddess, so she can do whatever the fuck she wants. Shazam flies.
Yeah.
That's true. And I like that because, and it was fun to introduce like those new powers that she's had, or like that, that she has in the new comics as well too. And that was the one of the big questions I remember everybody asking was like, is she going to get the invisible jet? And then I was like, well, where are you going to get it from? Like how do you just get an invisible jet? But I think that was a cute little nod to like, he was like, have you done it before? She was like, it was just a coffee cup, but I lost it.
Yeah.
He was like, well, damn, Diana.
Yeah. I think he said, well, shit, Diana, but yes, damn would have been better.
Well, shit, Diana.
I didn't even see that one coming, but it wasn't actually when they were going to the jet. My nephew was like, oh, look, they're gonna bring out the invisible jet. I was like, no, they're not. I was like, and then she started doing it. I was like, oh, you were right.
Yeah. Silly child. That's not what they're gonna do.
That's not what is happening in this movie.
Yeah.
I guess the only other thing I really had an issue with was, or maybe that was it. I wish we would have gotten another reference to the whole opening scene of her doing that tournament, because I mean, I got it, but I felt like for a 2.5 hour movie, maybe other people would want like a little callback about the whole lying and about cheating not being good. Like that obviously was a setup for the whole film, but it would have been nice to have a callback for that. Maybe when she was looking at the armor before she puts it on, but I guess we didn't even get that scene. That's probably on the cutting room floor somewhere.
Yeah. So Ernesto, I think I'm on the same vein as Estevan, is that I really, really enjoyed this movie. Excuse me. I thought the beginning was fun. Yeah.
Clear that throat.
Yeah. I thought the opening was fun. I do agree with you that it was a little campy, and I was like, is this where the whole movie's gonna go? But I think obviously we went away from that. It was just for the beginning. But I thought it was fun, the whole like flashback scene with her as a child, and like obviously that was all that was in there was just to set up the kind of the themes that are going to be presented throughout the film that she was learning or learned when she was a child. That was the only reason to have that in there. You could have easily started at the mall and saved us 10 minutes of the movie on an already 2.5 hour long movie. That being said, though, it didn't feel long to me because I felt like I had a good time watching it. Like I wasn't thinking or trying to like really think hard about watching it. It's a fun movie, and that's kind of where I was like in this whole time. 'Cause I'm like, oh, this is great, you know. And I did think it was weird that they all of a sudden there was this dream stone they keep referring to. It kind of came out of nowhere. It was like, oh, we found it in the opening sequence of like these hidden antiques that are being sold, and I felt like that was very, I don't want to use the word lazy, but it's like it just kind of happened. It was a MacGuffin that kind of just plopped into the story without actually like instead of the 5 minute or the 10 minutes we got of like young Diana kind of going around and doing this tournament, we could have got 10 minutes of like maybe getting a history of the stone or the stone getting to where it is today, and kind of like you seeing that path of how they got their hands on it instead of, you know, kind of happily just kind of discovering it, and they're making wishes on it, and they didn't even know that it was working. But yet Pedro Pascal, Max Lord, he, you know, knew all about this, and I'm like, this is kind of not cheesy, but like this is kind of lazy writing in my opinion. But
it's almost like got left out.
Yes, like I feel like I'm missing a step, but regardless of that. Like, I mean, I could be the only one, but this movie really reminded me a lot of Amazing Spider-Man 2, where you have Kristen Wiig as Jamie Foxx playing like this really smart person who's being underappreciated, not looked at, overlooked, and has a lot of heart and potential until this one thing happens, and then they get confident and evil, and the hero needs to, you know, take this person out. That's kind of like where I felt very similar characters there, but I think Kristen Wiig did a lot better at doing that. I was surprised of how much I enjoyed Kristen Wiig in this movie, because when she first got casted, I was like, really? Her as a villain? I don't see it. But like, it worked. I thought it really worked well for the film.
No, I agreed. I actually wished at the end that she didn't revert. I wish we would have kept her as a villain for like maybe as later Cheetah, installments, or at least as Cheetah, or maybe not even in this film, maybe to cross over through another hero, or just to be able to use her again, because I feel the same. I do feel like she did very well.
If I may,
go ahead.
I had a thought about that. We never heard her renounce her wish though.
Correct.
So
yes.
If Max renounces his wish, maybe that kind of changed a few things for her, but nobody said she renounced her wish. So
right.
I think there's always a possibility that something maybe she can turn it on and off for a little bit before it just permanently is there. So I mean, that's an interesting one for me. But yeah, I agree, Ernesto. Like, I love Cheetah so much because I'm such a classic rogues gallery type person. So like, whenever I think of Batman, I'm like Catwoman, Joker, Penguin, Riddler. Like, you know, the main ones that you always see. And same with Wonder Woman. One of the first things that pops in my head is like Cheetah. So I was like, oh, I would have loved to have seen like just a lot more like Cheetah interaction. But I was like, you know what? But it was a good amount.
It was enough.
Give me more of it down the road. Yeah, like down the road, give me more. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we got a fair amount of Cheetah in it because she wasn't the main villain. And again, talk about, we were kind of teasing about, the upcoming Spider-Man film kind of being overstuffed. And I felt like that, they gave a lot of time to Pedro Pascal, and then the other time was for Diana, and the other time was for Barbara. So I feel like that was all evenly done. And if we got more of it, I feel like that we would have lost some of the other great moments from the Diana story and from the Max Lord story. So I think we got enough from her. And she wasn't like, I feel like we got a slow build up. I agree with you, Estevan, that the movie paced was very well. It was well paced of how she wasn't like instantly bad all of a sudden. She like grew into her confidence. And while she was growing through that, her humanity was going down. And there was like, you see that shift throughout the whole movie. And then eventually we get to the very end where she becomes like full Cheetah. And then like, okay, we've lost her. But maybe we got a part of her moving on to the next movies. We don't know because, like you said, she never renounced her wish. Ernesto, I do agree with you that I felt they could have found a better way to bring in Chris Pine into the mix. Did he have to take over somebody else's body? Absolutely not. That made zero sense at all. Like how the same reason of how all of a sudden Barbara has these powers. Chris Pine could have just reappeared. We didn't have to,
Yeah, I would have bought. I would have bought.
Like that.
I felt like I would have bought that more. I would have bought that more if he had. If we didn't, we don't even need to see him come back. You can just say, I don't know, I just came back. He could literally just say,
right.
Oh, I came back. But as long as everybody sees him as him, then it would have been. I would have been all right. I'm here for it. I get it.
Yeah, and it's the same reason of how like all of a sudden. It makes zero sense.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's like why did you need to do that?
Because now I'm like the guy that he took over. I mean that guy, like what the hell? Like he hasn't gone to work in like a week.
Nobody's worried about him.
Dave.
Yeah. He's like, why is Dave on the news?
I know.
Why is
that Wonder Woman chick? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But yeah,
Dave now I feel bad for him.
Like the movie can explain like, okay, like the guy from Egypt, like the leader over there, he's like, I wish for this, and all of a sudden a wall just reappeared from nowhere. It's like, so we can make that happen, but we bring back Chris Pine and he needs to take over somebody else's body. Come on.
Yeah.
That it made zero. I will say this: the only thing I can give a reason for is that at the beginning of the movie, Diana was very lonely. She was longing for what she had or what she missed. Obviously, she made the wish for Steve Trevor to come back. That being said, the movie was trying to say like you need to move on, like we've been like panning over me for so long that it's time for move on, and you can meet and see other people, and maybe he the body that he was in was maybe encompassed of what he also felt. So when we get that final scene at the very very end where she meets the real person in that body, she was instantly to have that connection and maybe growing that she can move on and maybe meet other people. That's the only reason, but I still feel like we could have got another way to introduce Chris Pine into the mix.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, and I agree with that now that we're talking about it out. That's why we talk out loud. But
yes.
But what I will say though is that I'm like, man, Chris Pine plays Wonder so well. Like I believed every moment of him just in awe of like his new surroundings. Like he's like, oh my god. Like in like
yeah, I would agree with that.
Like the escalator and with the trains. Yeah. She's like, it's art, and he's like, oh, this is nice. She's like, that's just a trash can. He's it's just a trash can. My bad.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, we're good. All right.
My bad. But I think he plays Wonder so well, and I think it really, like, I believed every moment of him just like learning everything about this new age. Because I mean, he came from what 1930 when
1944. Right? Something 1940s. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
1944, and then being dropped into 1984. He was like, "This room is amazing. Everything about this room is amazing."
They have Pop-Tarts. I've eaten 3 of them.
Yeah. He's like, I've eaten 3 of them. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. But it really, I believed all of that, and I loved it. But and then one of the things that like you were mentioning earlier about Barbara, about Minerva, when you saw her humanity like leaving, I was like, it was so significant, and you could see that. And then which is funny because I didn't realize that's what the wish was doing, because even whenever Diana had went and she was having trouble with the lock that first time, I was like, oh shit, it's a really strong lock, like maybe somebody's trying to keep her out. And then it was like, oh, she's losing powers. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I think that Chris Pine he's great. He was great in the first movie, and I think he was great here. Bringing him back into the fold was fantastic. I thought that was a great idea, and I thought the story, while the way to bring the stone in was kind of weird, I'm happy they found a way to just bring him back in general. And I thought him discovering the 1980s was a big parallel to Diana discovering London 1940s. And she's like walking around and like, you know, she's trying on all these different outfits, and then as soon as she tries on an outfit, she's like moving around like, I can't fight in this. What the hell is this?
Yeah.
And then she's like, you know, she's carrying around like a sword and a shield, and like, you can't wear that. And like, she's just walking into, you know, big important meetings, and like, who is this chick? She can't be here. Like, it was very similar to that feel where it's a fish out of water story, and they kind of just had the roles reversed in this, and I thought the parallel was great. I loved it in both movies.
Same.
Yeah. And then, again, I'm going to talk about Pedro all the time, just because I think he does amazing in everything he does. But, man, Max Lord is such a great character for him, because if Pedro Pascal was trying to sell me something on an infomercial, I'd probably buy it. Because, I mean, like, he's like, you know, this is going to be better for you. And it's like, yeah. So I believe that character. And then just to see how it, like, escalated into, like, crazy and madness, and just like overall just trying to like overtake everybody, I think that build up just got like, again, you know, the pacing of it was just brilliant. I thought it was like, oh my god, okay, cool, like I'm gonna try to get the stone so I can make a couple of wishes. And then he's like, I want to be you. I was like, oh, that's a turn. I was like, ooh, damn.
Esteban, you make a great point, because like when we first introduced him, he has so much confidence in himself that you believe anything he says. And as for like us watching it, yeah, I believe that he was like a millionaire and making all the right decisions, and this businessman. And then like not too long after we get to introduction of his character, we realize that he's just a phony, a lie. He's promising dreams but with no product. And so and he's basically selling people on that dream, and that's how he's getting investors. I thought it was a funny line where he, like, when he first meets Diana, he's like, "Oh, look at you!" And she says that she doesn't have a TV. He's like, "I can get you a TV, 19 inches from Sears. I got you. Here's my car. I know a guy." And then I first thought, 19 inches from Sears. Wow, we're definitely in the 80s.
And then, did you catch her response to him? She goes, "I'll stick with the TV I don't have."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I was like, "Ooh, damn, burn Diana."
Throughout all these years, she's taking shit from nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
For real.
I thought that was great. So yeah, so then you have that, and so like you almost feel sorry for him, and then he's talking to his son. He's like, "You remember all the things I promised you? We're almost there. I'm right there." And then when he gets the Dreamstone, then you start to realize that, like, you know, he just had a small goal. Like, oh, I just want to, you know, do my business and like get it off the ground, and then just kind of everything kind of took over. I actually don't really know what he lost, to be honest. Like, by him gaining to being like the Dreamstone, essentially, what did he gain from that? I'm sorry, what did he lose?
He was losing.
I think he was losing his life and
Yeah.
his soul.
Yeah.
It was taking his life force away.
Yeah, his life force away, because every time, I mean, there was something like his eye would get bloodshot. I was like, oh, this bro got pink eye all of a sudden. And then, you know, and then his ear's bleeding, and then his nose is bleeding, and then you like significantly saw like the color leave his face, and then whenever he started getting everybody's life, he's like, all right, I'm going to take your life force, and all right, I feel better. So
I feel better, yeah, all right.
Like this always. So,
yeah,
was
and
weird
like,
because... Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was like, which was weird, because that's what I was expecting him to do early on, and I was kind of almost expecting like a hocus pocus situation. He's like, I'm gonna suck the lives of all the children, and just be like, I will live forever. And I was like, oh, shouldn't you have done that before becoming almost dead?
Yeah. But it was such a great moment for when he did turn, because like the lasso of truth kind of like showed him the way back to his soul, and how he was able to what got him to this point of like wanting to become like a very powerful businessman. And then, he was like, I got to get back to my son. It went back to family. It went back to, what makes us all human. And he's like, I renounce my wish. Let's get the hell out of here. Let's find my son. And then, but I actually loved also how the world slowly turned into madness and like how quickly that happened. And they did a really good job of showing that and then kind of reversing it. There's just like, do we really wish for all of these things in the first place? I don't think so. So I thought that the message was great. I do want to go back to the flying comment you made, Ernesto. And I believed, and I was kind of like I was in the moment when she learned how to fly. I think throughout the whole movie, she was kind of fighting the fact that like she was longing for Steve Trevor. And when she finally got him, she couldn't let him go. And then she made the difficult decision to do so. And even like it's kind of like you kind of reconnected with an old friend, and like all these things started happening again. Like she got like her mojo back. She could have been lost this whole time. Basically, throughout all the years, she's been a vigilante in hiding, fighting small crimes throughout DC, living her life as she does. But there was still something holding her back, and so then when she got her mojo back when she started reconnecting with Steve, and then obviously we get to see her use more of her invisibility power, which she turned into the plane invisible, which was great, a great callback to the comics and her character. And then because she had to let him go, like there was so much passion there, so much like strong emotion that had her learn something new, learn how to fly based on her experience with Steve Trevor. So I was in on it. I bought all of it. And so I thought it came organically. The same how in No Man's Land, where we kind of built up to that moment, I felt this was the same way. So I was on board with the whole flying thing.
Yeah, same. I was too. I wasn't not on board with it. When it happened, I just questioned it. I was like, does Wonder Woman know how to fly? Said I'm not. Right. I'm actually not 100%. I guess I wasn't like I don't know her lore that deep enough to know if that was a thing or not. But apparently it is. So I was like, all right. Once I realized, I was like, all right, that's fine. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Because now it's like it's a way how she can reconnect to him. It's her way.
Yeah.
So like when she flies, she obviously thinks about him when she flies.
Very true. What about the action? How do we feel about the action?
I thought it was good, but I don't think it was as good as the first one. But I do love that. I do like that Wonder Woman cheetah fight scene at the end. I don't know. There's just something about I guess from the first one, like when she's in No Man's Land and she's just messing them up from building to building. Like she literally goes flying from building to building, and or when she goes into that church to take out the sniper and she like explodes. Yeah. She like knocks him out and it makes the top of the building explode. I mean that was intense. So not to take away from it, but I thought it was good. But I felt like the action in the first one was just a little bit better.
But
See, I thought they upped the action a little bit in this movie. I was like, oh, okay, cool. We're doing fight scenes in the beginning. I was like, all right, there's another one coming up. I'm like, all right, yeah, let's blow some shit up. I'm like here's a tank, and I thought that was cool when they went to went to Egypt, right, or Cairo?
Egypt, yeah.
Yeah, Cairo, yeah.
Egypt,
Cairo.
And they and just that whole scene, just that chase scene of her like attacking the tanks, I thought was like a really well done to see, to see her get wounded, and then to be like, oh my god, how do you like deal with that? And then Steve kind of helping out with it as well too. I thought that was really great. I thought the action was pretty well done. I think anything more would have been too much for this film.
Agreed.
Action-wise, the last film, it was a war-centered film, so I mean the action made sense. Like random explosions, wherever you're at and all this other stuff, that makes sense to me because it's a war film. Wonder Woman 1984 was much more political, like as we were talking about earlier, so it was kind of like the action was appropriately placed where it needed to be. So it's like, all right, let's not just have random explosions just because, or have like random fights just because as well. But yeah, I think the action was pretty well placed.
Matt?
Yeah, I really enjoyed. I agree with you. The Cairo car chase was fantastic. I loved it. It was very engaging. The music, the score was like elevating it, and I'm like, I kind of got up from my seat. I'm like, okay, here we go. Here, this is a moment right here. we are getting into some action. But yeah, I thought it was like exciting. Like it was great visually to see. And there's also what was the other one? The White House. I thought that scene was intense. Like a lot was going on. You had Pedro Pascal kind of like this talking all this stuff to the president, and like so that build up was there. And then you have the moment where I guess our first fight with Diana and Barbara. And I thought that was great because she's like, you can see Barbara's like she's getting stronger while Diana's getting weaker in that scene. And so that was a great parallel to see, and I was enjoying all of it. That was like the whole scene where we got to that point, and then it only got escalated even more because they're on their way to like broadcast, all the wishes to the world. And so I thought the action was very well. I do agree with you that it was well paced, and also because of the story that was being woven in, it was well balanced. And so like when we got to the action moments, they were great. I thought Pedro Pascal was a great villain. Like you're saying, Estevan, he's having a great December. The Mandalorian, like he's taking over. He's having a really great day. Like he's taking over all of the streaming platforms, the Mandalorian, Disney Plus. We Can Be Heroes on Netflix, and now he's taking over HBO Max with Wonder Woman 1984. I thought he was a great villain. It's like the stuff I always want to see in The Mandalorian, but he can't because his character on The Mandalorian is very reserved. But here, he went all out. Like, he went insane, and it was great. Like, you saw that climb to madness, and he played it off very well. And he's like, what do you want to wish? Just wish anything. Just like, don't you wish that? All right, you already get a wish. What's with you guys with Porsches? I don't know. Yeah. Who hadn't had a wish? Come over here. And he was great. Like, it was very energetic, and I loved it. And I like movies that when we get reasons of why the villains are doing things, like they're not nameless villain here. And I felt like this movie did a better job with the villains than Wonder Woman 1984 did, where you had one villain where it's just like literally wearing a mask and like I'm doing bad things within the war, and then we had a surprise villain. Then it felt very comic booky, where in this movie we were on the journey with all of the villains equally paced, and so when we get to those moments, they were justified, that we understood why they got to this point, and was more enjoyable to watch, to get behind the actions of the villain and the actions of the heroes. So
yeah, I think
thank you.
Perfect. I think well, it was funny because also I think one of the things that it showed me that scene in the White House when he's talking to the president, I think was interesting to me as well, because it kind of shows you like the power of the wish. Because the president made the comment, it was like, I thought I was somewhere else. I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know what's going on right now. Like, I'm so sorry. Were we supposed to meet today? So it was like, oh, so the wishes is powerful that you can pull people from other places, not just obviously like Steve, like from the dead, but, all right, the president's in, wherever. My wish says he now needs to be back at the White House. So, like, boom, here I am. And so it was like, oh, that was interesting to see like how powerful the wishes can be with everybody. Mm-hmm.
Ernesto, you gonna say something?
No, I think the only thing I was gonna mention was it was a nice little nod at the end for that Linda Carter cameo at the post-credit scene.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
So I read that the critics didn't get to see that, because she didn't want anybody to... Yeah, so anybody that saw the film before it was released yesterday didn't see the end credit scene, because she didn't want anybody to ruin the fact that they had the Linda Carter cameo. But I thought it was great. I love that.
Do you think that when they make, or if they make a Wonder Woman 3, that she would have a bigger role? Because they said that her character, her character was the one who originally wore the armor and kind of fought off everybody. And then I'm assuming they thought she was dead, but we later find out that she is in hiding just as the same as Wonder Woman is, Diana is in 1984. So, like, she's just kind of like saving the day quietly and kind of going along her journey there. So do you think she'll play a bigger role, or was it just a cameo?
I hope so. And then honestly, you know, one of the other things that we've heard recently with the new Flash movie was that had been talks that Gal might make an appearance in the Flash movie, but also Linda Carter might make an appearance as well. So with this cameo, I think that kind of like that tracks for like maybe going into the Flashpoint, or because Flashpoint would come before a new Wonder Woman movie would come out. So I mean, I think that would just make sense to see that in that aspect, and I think that'd be cool because at the moment we have 2 Batmans in Flashpoint, and you know, to have 2 Wonder Womans in Flashpoint I think would be a cool thing to see as well.
Why not?
And Linda Carter looks amazing. I mean, get on it, girl.
Yeah, I really do appreciate another thing about this movie is that I felt like, you know, after watching the movie like Wonder Woman and then Wonder Woman 1984 back to back, I felt like the beginning of Wonder Woman felt like they were quietly and like very I'm not sure what I'm trying to use, but like they you can tell they're trying to make a connected universe, you know, with the Snyderverse that they were building up to at the time in 2017. And so like we had the beginning scene of her looking at the old photo, and at the end she's thanking Bruce Wayne, and obviously Wayne Enterprises was the one who delivered the photo, and there was like a very small nod to like a bigger universe. But in this movie, we didn't even touch any of that. And I think the movie works way better without trying to shoehorn in stories that you can tell that DCEU is not building toward any longer. Like they're trying to do their own thing. They're not Marvel. That being said, this was the most Marvel DC movie I've seen so far in their slate, with the exception of Shazam. It was just a fun movie. Yeah. And with that point, I enjoyed this movie a lot better than I did the first Wonder Woman. I still like the first Wonder Woman, and I felt like Wonder Woman is the best DCEU movie that they had to offer until this one. So for me, it's like Wonder Woman 1984, and then Wonder Woman, and then Shazam. That's my order.
Okay. Ooh. I'm going to watch it again, and I might agree with you on that.
Yeah.
You like it better than Shazam? I thought Shazam was great.
I love Shazam too.
Shazam is great.
I would
great. Like, I would almost go Shazam, then the Wonder Woman series, then Wonder Woman 1 and 2. That's interesting.
Really? I don't know. I think I would keep Wonder Woman up there. Shazam would still be high up there for me, though.
Yeah,
And you know what I think I do enjoy about it is that I enjoy the break from the monotone darkness all the time.
Yeah,
I do
absolutely.
enjoy it. Like, don't get me wrong. I love the DC dark tone, but yeah, Wonder Woman 1984 was just colorful. It was a lot more. It was a lot more vibrant, and it was like, oh yeah, like let's do that. And there was a scene where she very much looked like Linda Carter's Wonder Woman, because the suit had a lot more gold tones to it now. So when she was running through the streets of like DC, it was funny because I was like, oh shit, she almost looks like Linda Carter.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, you know, this is a great. It's a great aspect because I love the dark because where it fits. Darkness fits like, with Batman and everything else. The first Wonder Woman, obviously, in the war, it fits there. But yeah, you know, again, the setting, 1984. I mean, that the title sequence alone should tell you that you're in for kind of a fun, colorful, you know, 80s ride.
Right. And I do like how they're giving Patty Jenkins the freedom to do that story, because they didn't have to go back. They were already in present day with Batman v Superman and Justice League. But the fact that we went back into the 80s, and it's kind of like we're not even touching present day right now. We're just sticking back to the old times. And I think it works great with the story they were trying to tell. With that, though, I want to ask kind of like one last question here. You know, I'm assuming we all saw this movie at home. Yeah. Correct?
I want to see it in the theaters. I do feel like it would have been better I felt like it would have been better if I had saw it in the theaters, especially with the music, with the Hans Zimmer music.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so I was kind of curious of how you guys' home's experience was, since it's technically the biggest movie to be released at home thus far. And, you know, did you gain or lose anything? I'm sure you might have lost a few things by not going to theater, but was anything like noticeably different from you watching a big movie like this at home than you were at the theater?
Well, go ahead, Steph.
Restroom breaks. I mean, I was like, everybody get your beer ready, get your cocktails, whatever you need. I go, nobody asked for anything after this. So, but then it was like, I gotta go to the restroom. I was like, pause it. You got 2 minutes. Go. But yeah, I mean, but at the same time, I mean, it's weird. I'll watch it again, but I'll probably watch it by myself just because I want to like give myself the full just attention span that I can give it. Because like, because like with, I mean, Ernesto, you probably know as well too, with the kids or anybody being around, it's just like, oh, somebody needs to do this or somebody needs to do that, and I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me right now?
Phones ringing and shit, or backpeak cars driving by. It's not nothing. It's not the same, but this definitely is a movie that should be seen in the theaters.
Oh
yeah, I agree.
I still think that this movie, I think if it was in the theaters, it would do 100. People who were upset about little things here and there, they wouldn't even care because you would be so engulfed in the experience, and then you'd be stuck in that story for 2.5 hours. Like, I felt like the experience, the movie would be a 100% different experience in the theaters.
And saying that, Ernesto, kind of made me just right now think about like if they released the new James Bond movie. If they released James Bond now, yes, I would watch it, but I think I'd be like, it was alright.
Yeah, it wouldn't be this. It would not be the same.
But if I saw it in theaters, I'd be like, holy shit, that was crazy. That was crazy. I loved it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand what you're saying. I agree with that.
With the big action moments, like just to try to make it as close to the theater as possible, I was like slowly turning up the volume on my TV because I really wanted to hear that, like, the bass and with the surround sound. I'm like, all right, and then you hear you kind of building up to that, and so like you kind of want to be, you're trying to replicate it as much as you can, but you can't get the full experience, but you can try. I mean, hell, even within the first 10 minutes, Ernesto, there's a quick power outage. So at my house. Man. So like we just finished the mall scene, or no, I'm sorry, we were about to get into like right before Wonder Woman showed up in the mall. We were building up to that, and then all of a sudden TV shut off, all my lights turned on, the clocks reset all to 9, and then I had to wait for the Wi-Fi to come back on, and I was like, man, this really got me out of the moment for a second. Yeah. And so like then you gotta like get yourself, you gotta wait a little bit longer, and it's like, all right, we're back, everything's set back up again. All right, now get back in the mindset. We are in Wonder Woman. Here we go.
1984.
1984. Here we go. And so that was like, and like stuff like that, it's very rare to get that in a movie theater. So
True.
It's just the things at home. So yeah, but I definitely, at another time, and we were talking about this before, there is a world where they could re-release these movies in theaters, just to get that experience again. And the movie is in theaters, so like you do have that option to do so. But yeah, overall, I think this was a great movie. I thought it was it brings a lot of hope into the mix. Oh, I'm sorry. I do want to bring in one point. The last scene where it's snowing and we're in the holiday times. Do you think that was reshot? Because I'm 100% sure that I was like, there's no way we ended this movie during Christmas time and we released this movie around Christmas. Like, if this movie was supposed to release in the summer. Yeah, you know what I mean?
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah. We were watching it. I was like, do you think they redid this so they could be like, it could be a Christmas movie now?
Yeah. Well, maybe not a Christmas movie. Yeah, maybe not a Christmas movie. Like, oh, we know we were releasing this movie in the holidays, so we're just kind of like this. Like, originally this movie was like taking place in the summer, but like, oh no, instead of a park, it's like they're having fun in the sno, and he meets the guy here. Like, it's a very quick scene you could reshot. But I'm like, there's no fucking way this was always in the holiday season. No way, man. But that being said, I really enjoyed this movie. I wish I would have seen it in theaters, but I'm happy that we are able to see it nonetheless. And I thought this was a great entry to the Wonder Woman franchise and really built upon what Patty Jenkins is developing with this character, and probably one of the better DCEU movies is out there right now.
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it. I have my few things that I had an issue with, like I think the way they just brought Steve Trevor in. I mean, that could have been better, but that's, I guess, at that point I'm just nitpicking.
Yeah, it's like very minor details, but overall it seemed like you enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun. Like at the end of the movie, I was like, oh, that was a good movie. Like I wasn't upset when I finished watching it.
Yeah. But yeah, any last words, Estevan, before we wrap this up?
I agree with y'all. I think it was a wonderful film. Great story, great characters, great music, as you've heard us say a few times. I mean, Hans Zimmer is
Hans Zimmer!
master at this stuff. Hans Zimmer! But I think, and I think it stayed true to what the character is, and Patty Jenkins stayed true to what she has already built, and just built on top of it, and didn't really kind of, she didn't really, I don't think she really did too much of anything or did too little of anything at any point. So I think it was just a really nice installment for this character and for her version of Wonder Woman.
Hey, thanks for listening to this edited version of our weekly podcast, Box Office Bingers. If you want to hear the full version of all of our episodes, which includes us discussing entertainment news, movie and TV reviews, guest interviews, and other things we've been watching, you can find us on wherever you listen to podcasts.
And if you want more from us, be sure to hit that subscribe button and find us on our social media channels on Instagram at boxoffice_bingers, Facebook at boxofficebingers, email at boxofficebingers@gmail.com, and Matt, we're even on the Tiki-Takis. We're on the Tiki-Takis at Box Office Bingers. Once again, thanks for listening.